second attempt, the third attempt actually at trying to get this done using YouTube. That's my first sort of day going at trying to create these videos this way. The old way I created, as most of you have noticed, leads to a computer glitch in which it goes snap, and it won't show you the actual video. So let's give this a go. So your Unit 6, so your age-appropriate movement assignment, Part A, you're going to be basically planning a lesson or teaching a lesson to a co-ed group of students at an age level between either the 5 to 8 or 8 to 12 years old range. So your lesson is going to come from Active for Life. The big piece on this is that I want you to focus in on these two age groups. The reasoning being that is I want you later on to address whether or not it's a fundamentals or a learning to train group. So again, we're not doing any active start. So please don't indicate my group is active start. Try to make sure that they're 6 years and older, basically, so you can address the appropriate LTAD level that they're in. So from the Active for Life website, what you'll simply do is you'll go in on the Active for Life website under Pro Resources. They've got lesson plans for 3 to 12-year-olds. So again, you're picking from the categories of 5 to 8 to 8 to 12. When you click on one of these lesson plans, what it does is it actually brings up the lesson plan, and it has it all laid out. So this is what you're going to then use to do the rest of the assignment. So it's important that you take a good look at that because you're going to be analyzing this in order to answer the questions. For Part B, you're going to use this template to analyze the lesson plan to see if it incorporates all the components we were just learning about related to growth and development. And you'll see that LTAD 2.0 resource would definitely be a big help with these topics, as we just basically covered those in the course. So going back into the course content section, if you take a look at the Unit 6 growth and development, you'll see that the next few pieces of the assignment are all covered in the content in that first section on LTAD 2.0. So that's where you're going to find the information right up until the sensitive periods of training. So for this one, number 1, age-related terms, you can find the information there. It's important to make sure when you're going through and analyzing this, it's an application as well as some thinking and inquiry. What you have happening here is you're identifying whether or not these actually exist within the lesson plan. If they do exist, you're going to tell me why you think they exist, so what's your proof from the lesson to support it. If they do not exist, you then need to tell me what you would do to address it. So how are you going to incorporate that into your lesson plan? So it's really important to make sure that, again, you realize it's one or the other. If yes, you explain why you think that, and if it's no, you explain how you're going to bring it in. Maturity events, so here thinking about, again, boys and girls. We kind of know from the PHV component, girls is earlier than boys, so how might this impact your lesson based on the age of your students? Your sensitive periods, the first 5 S's. So now take a look at which windows are open for trainability for your age group, and then indicate simply yes or no if those windows are open. Number 4 is the 10th S, and that's the sociocultural piece. It's important that you think about in that lesson plan, do we have the socialization via sport idea in which you've got general societal values and norms being internalized through sport participation. So this answer needs to talk about what are the societal values and norms of the group of students that you're working with, and are those being then represented within the class itself. It could be simple things like waiting your turn, the respecting of others, those types of the things, what we call societal values and norms in terms of proper behavior and how you would act. And so again, that's what you're going to address in that question. For number 5 is the LTAD stage. So then looking at the stages of long-term athlete development. In this case, it's going to be either fundamentals or learning to train. And in a paragraph, you're going to explain how the lesson does or does not meet the requirements for that stage of LTAD. You go back into the LTAD document, there's a whole section for each one of those stages explaining what should and should not be happening at those levels. You can use that to then refer back in terms of your supporting ideas to state whether it does or does not meet the requirements for that stage. Intellectual development, number 6. So you're looking at these 4 intellectual stages. You're indicating yes or no whether they exist. You're then going to choose one of the intellectual stages that you answered yes to for your chosen age group and describe how it was incorporated into the lesson. Now, if you answered no to all 4 of those, then what you can then do is you'll pick one of the ones that you answered no to and then explain how you would incorporate what's required for that intellectual stage into the lesson itself. Again, that information can be found back in the content as you go through. So the next was stages of human growth and development. All right, so looking at that, and then the section on stages of psychomotor learning. All right, so it's looking at those things as well. Okay, so it's important to make sure that you go back to the content. There's lots there to support what it is that you're working on. Our stages of motor learning are cognitive, associative, and autonomous. So explain how each of these would impact the lesson plan, first of all. And then you're going to take a look at the lesson to determine whether or not it actually addresses the stages of motor learning. And again, if yes, describe how it's been incorporated. And if no, you would say how you would then make adjustments to the lessons that they were incorporated. Looking at our skill categories, where again, you're thinking about, is there anything in the lesson about locomotor or moving skills? Is there anything for manipulative or handling skills, or stability, which are balancing skills? And then give an example, all right, of what was in there. If it's a no, then what would you do to tweak the lessons so that you could build in some locomotor if it was missing, for example? So again, there's a yes or a no, but there's work to do after either identifying the yes or explaining how you would fix it if you answered no. For one of the specific skill examples above, indicate if it's an open or closed skill. And in your opinion, is this the right type of skill to be using with this age group? And then explain that. So again, our open and closed skills, we know how they kind of tie back to the idea of the cognitive, associative, autonomous. So again, when we're just learning something, you want it closed. As we become more competent, it becomes automatic. You move to an open skill situation. So in this case, you would address one of the things that occurred in the lesson and discuss that. So executive functioning, which follows in the content as well. So there's a section on executive functioning, and there's your information and content for that. Here you're going to choose one of the activities in this lesson to determine if it is developing executive functioning. So you can take the activity from the actual assignment itself, and you would just copy and paste it into this template. So again, going back into this here. So for example, perhaps this was the game you're using. You would just highlight it, copy it, right? And then you're going to take it back and you're going to paste it right into this spot here. You're then going to use this table to indicate yes or no for each component of executive functioning as to whether or not it's in that activity. Again, if yes, describe how the activity addresses it. And if no, explain how you would add that component to the activity. So again, referring back to the content on executive functioning that exists in the content area. So this is sort of your final big assignment. So good luck with it, and let me know if you have any questions.